What's for dessert when a spouse needs cheer? What's for dessert for mother-in-law, dear? For a baby who loves brightness? For a lady who wants lightness? What's for dessert? Jell-O, with things the milkman brings. Jell-O with milk for baby's brunch. Jell-O with cream for a light, bright lunch. Jell-O in a tall parfait with a whip. Jell-O with ice cream. Hey, you'll flip. Any time, any season, for any rhyme or any reason. It's the dreamy with creamy, soft to chew, good for you, brightful, delightful, jiggly, wiggly, siling, beguiling, answer to what's for dessert. Another fine product of General Foods.
To characterize an invention as a sign of American innovation, it must consist of a transformative quality. Adapting is part of the American experience, as each era is met with uncertainty in the shifting and growth of social classes, politics, economy, and culture. Jell-O is exactly that, a transformative product that flows from the 19th to the 21st century in times of Reconstruction and decline, serving as an example of a sign of class, a war staple, and a child's play toy. Jell-O's ability to reinvent itself is telling of those who contributed to its creation and maintained its image throughout time, from LeRoy, New York, to the greater part of the United States. Gelatin itself is not a foreign ingredient to Western cooking and was rather a display of wealth in Europe during the 17th century. This was partly due to its laborious and prolonged manufacturing process of boiling animal parts in order to extract collagen, a set of proteins that would form intricate structures due to its high water retention. Its ability to be molded into any shape and suspend other additives, such as fruits, vegetables, or other animal products, became a feat of cooking in of itself and won praise for its uniqueness. Thus, when the United States inevitably came to be, gelatin again regained popularity among the wealthiest classes, an example being Thomas Jefferson's wine jellies. However, it wasn't long after until the process of making gelatin was reinvented to make it easier and faster to prepare, while also making it more accessible to the broader public. While large corporations such as the Knox Company of Johnstown strive to manufacture convenient gelatin products, businessman Peter Cooper secured a patent for gelatin in 1845, which sold to Pearl Waite in 1895. Waite was a carpenter and a cough syrup manufacturer in LeRoy, New York, who reinvented Cooper's flavorless gelatin into a versatile dessert with 4 variations, which his wife, May Waite, named Jell-O. Pearl Waite lacked experience in salesmanship and was unable to profit off of his creation, leading him to sell Jell-O to 1899 for $450 to a local businessman named Orator Woodward. Orator Woodward and the Woodward family proved to be successful business operators, with products such as Grain-O spearheading their way into the food production business. Grain-O was a health drink produced in 1896 as a replacement for coffee. It advertised health benefits, and the avoidance of caffeine made it attractive to local citizens of LeRoy. The product continued to succeed, and by 1897, Woodward had formed the Genesee Pure Food Company. Waite transferred, quote, exclusive rights in the manufacturing of Jell-O to use forever, including all trademark common law rights or claims to the word Jell-O, end quote, in the barely typed legible contract between Waite and Woodward. Waite also agreed to deliver to the Genesee Pure Food Company all stock of material on hand, along with a list of all customers whom he had ever sold Jell-O to. Woodward was not only able to utilize the Genesee Pure Food Company as a tool and resource, but also reformulate the strategic advertising and community building techniques utilized when expanding Grain-O's market in order to make room for Jell-O in LeRoy. Orator Woodward shortly passed away in 1906, soon after purchasing Jell-O. The estate and work continued under the family name, putting his wife, Cora, as the president, his eldest son, Ernest, as the vice president and treasurer, and his brother-in-law, Thomas Larkin, as the secretary. The Woodwards were deeply interconnected with LeRoy and therefore demonstrated their philanthropy. Cora funded the town's municipal building, and Ernest can be noted for designing the town's post office, creating the American Legion headquarters, and assisting in providing a cushion for the town's local banks during the Great Depression. The youngest daughter in the family, Helen Woodward Rivas, founded the Hopman Woodward Medical Research Institute and donated $2.3 million to build the psychiatric wing at Rochester's Strong Memorial Hospital, thus giving its name the R Wing.
You know, I think when you go down the line, the impact of Jell-O on the community is still there, although, you know, now it's several generations away. People don't remember the Woodwards so much, and we kind of have to remind them, I guess. So.
Jell-O's early advertisements depicted a scene of family unity and claimed to alleviate the tasks of a stay-at-home mother by providing an entertaining and regal, yet simple ingredient to work with. This aligned with LeRoy's interests and values, especially with the growing ideal of a domestic nuclear family in the early 20th century. In addition to impacting the more intimate family dynamic, Jell-O also made its way to impact local society. For example, restaurants would serve Jell-O salads, and the town would conduct Jell-O sculpture making contests during their annual Summer Oatka Festival. By 1910, households around the United States would be met with decorated mud cars and salesmen.
Order Woodward acquires it in 99. Now, it's not just a local thing. I mean, he immediately hires one of the best advertising agencies in New York City. Order Woodward hires the Darchy Company in New York City, and they start marketing it. And immediately, the first thing they come up with is that it's America's most famous dessert, which is kind of funny because it was the thought of positive thinking.
Jell-O quickly gained widespread popularity for similar reasons as to why it initially gained popularity in LeRoy. It symbolized togetherness, and because of its accessibility, affordability, and versatility during the Industrial Revolution, it resembled togetherness that expanded further than just simply using the product, but rather what it meant to be an American. This notion was emphasized through the influx of immigration from 1905 to 1915. Jell-O recipe books were being produced in a multitude of different languages, such as French, German, Yiddish, and Spanish. Jell-O also made its way onto many boats headed to Ellis Island, becoming a fundamentally strange, yet uniquely American experience for a few immigrants. Jell-O continued to flourish during the early 20th century and held its advertised position as an help-all for the modern housewife, looking to save time and money. Soon, this narrative became reinforced during World War I as the price of sugar and other baked goods skyrocketed, whereas Jell-O stayed at a consistently reasonable price. As a result, Jell-O became a patriotic symbol for those supporting the war cause and the soldiers across the sea. The company utilized Herbert Stroop, a first lieutenant in France during the war, to create a series of illustrations depicting his experiences and life behind the war line. Quote, "The absence of mud, filth, and general discomforts of the line were enough to make even the gloomiest and coldest of harsh stone wards cheerful. What nurse did not wish she could bring out a dainty dish of Jell-O to satisfy those dejected appetites?" End quote. Similar success was found during World War II, when the government pushed households to ration their food as much as possible. Jell-O became a vessel for leftover food, and had the ability to be morphed into anything. Such ideas were also embraced post-World War II, in the 1950s, when instant foods were more commonplace. However, during the midst of everything, in 1925, Jell-O was purchased by Postum, a competitor to the Genesee Pure Food Company and the precursor to the more commonly known General Foods. This transfer of ownership entailed a larger corporation and a greater demand, moving production from LeRoy and 3 other Northeast factories to Dover, Delaware, in March 1962. Although a great feat for the company and in reflection an important one, the citizens of LeRoy were unwilling to let this happen. LeRoy's citizens fell into a near-paternal relationship with the Jell-O plant and succeeded in achieving the idyllic employer-to-employee bond. Strikes and labor unions were not said to be formed, and the work ethic can be described as, quote, "one of a big, sociable sort of gelling bee," end quote, noted by a retired Catherine Powers. Therefore, when General Foods decided to combine their factories, the Jell-O employees took matters into their own hands.
There were people from LeRoy that actually moved to Dover. They had an offer, and there was a whole packet of information given to potential people that were willing to leave LeRoy and go to Dover. It promoted Dover as a place that would be a good place to live, and a lot of different things. So after they retired, some of them actually moved back to LeRoy.
Being able to work with and for the local community was something that Pearl Waite was unable to accomplish, which can be noted in his failure to initially grow Jell-O into a local household name. The Woodwards were able to demonstrate this and form a deeply complex relationship with all of LeRoy's citizens, ultimately creating a sense of togetherness outside of simply living in the same town, but also taking the same path to work towards personal goals and aspirations. Life was formed, something so deeply embedded and interconnected between people, the manner in which they interact encompassed what it meant to be part of LeRoy. Although the impact that Jell-O has made on the modern food industry is incomparable to the thousands of conglomerates that have formed over the years, its memory continues to reside in the majority of North America. In 1976, Dr. Adrian R.M. Upton in Ontario, Canada, performed an experiment to test the possibility of neuron activity after death with the help of a bowl of lime Jell-O. The results from this experiment concluded that Jell-O was able to recreate electrical signals that resembled human activity, but this could have been manipulated by other medical equipment. In 1997, the LeRoy Historical Society built the Jell-O Gallery, a museum and a time capsule of how far Jell-O has evolved both inside and outside of the town. They feature original paintings and records of Jell-O being advertised and incorporated in the domestic aspects of life. The product itself, however, continues to reside on our shelves, playing a part in fostering a sense of childlike wonder. Its distinct qualities of inventiveness and its ties to both local and American history summarize what it means to be a symbol of American ideals today.